Swallows Universe is a new Netflix television adaptation of the Australian best-selling book written by Trent Dalton, and stars actors such as Simon Baker, Brian Brown, Phoebe Tonkin, Anthony LaPiga, Lee Tiger Harley, Sophie Wilde as well, who was actually in Talk to Me, Travis Fimmel, and Felix Cameron, as well as a bunch of others. So it is this new Netflix adaptation of the book Boy Swallows Universe. Now, I haven't actually read the book. I do know that it was received very well and it did become a bestseller in the world of Australian literature and writing, and I do know that the book was a pretty big deal. But I never got around to reading it. But I did just finish watching the Netflix mini-series of it, and apparently it's only a limited series, so which is a bit of a shame, because because just to think that in maybe a month or two this will now it will no longer be available for viewing is really sad, because I had a really good time watching this show. I thought it was just brilliant. It's another standout of Aussie drama to me. Even better than what Bump was, even though Bump is a much longer series than this. It's definitely head and shoulders above shows like Home and Away and Neighbours, which I don't really watch and I'm not really interested in. And another thing that was great about this show is that it was all shot around Brisbane. There were many locations that I saw in the show that are actually visited in real life. There was a shot down in Beenleigh where they did a few shots around the old Beenleigh public swimming pool. And funnily enough, I used to go there for my school swimming carnivals, and it's nice to see that after all this time it still hasn't changed. It still looks very 80s, very dark brick, typical Australian 80s brickwork. There are a lot of locations around this show where they're really trying to conform to the 80s period piece, such as the old Courier Mail building, which is, I think it's in Darra or somewhere near the Gateway Bridge. There are a lot of interesting things about the show when it came to the period piece. They took one of the old Queensland Rail EMU city trains, and they kind of did it up to make it look like it was from the 80s, because back in the 80s those trains looked a bit different to what they did now. Now they're yellow, they have a yellow front, yellow doors, it's all electrical. But back then it was kind of like this bluish grey facade. And of course, even back then, and I still remember this, the doors had handles that you had to open, and like the doors would open just like that. And they did stick with that very until maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, where they phased out the handles and made it a button operated door, just like all the other types of city trains that run on Brisbane's network. So I thought that was a nice touch. Also, but it doesn't always conform, or because you can't have the entire town of Brisbane be stuck in the 80s for your TV show. I mean, there are a couple of shots, like there was this scene where Eli is escaping from a hospital, and he goes down this elevator, and it's so obvious that this elevator is not from the 80s. It's like he's pushing the buttons, and the buttons are not 80s buttons, and I would know, since I was very obsessed with elevators when I was a kid. I'm like, that's not 80s, that's not an 80s elevator, I'm sorry. But you can't make it perfect, I guess. And there was also this scene, I won't spoil what the scene was about, but this scene at the end of the series that's supposedly inside Brisbane's clock tower in the City Hall, and they're in the room behind like the clock faces, and it's a great scene. But the major inconsistency with this scene is that in real life there is a massive elevator shaft that goes up through the middle of that room, since there is a tour that Brisbane do where you can go to into the clock tower and book a tour. We can go up the historic antique elevator that goes up through the centre of the tower, past the clock face, and you get out and you can walk up above this little observation area and look around King George Square, which is, it's not tall by today's standards, but back before the 70s it was the tallest building in Brisbane. But it's that time since then it's been overshadowed by many skyscrapers that are in that city that I know so well. So yes, but enough about the technical consistencies and inconsistencies when it came to the era of 1985 to 1989, which the show is set in. I think I should talk a bit more about the story. So the main story follows two kids called Eli and Gus, and it kind of starts with them. I think they're about like 10. Eli is like 10 and Gus is maybe like 13, 14. Gus is a selective mute. He doesn't speak much, and I thought through the entire show he wasn't going to say much of anything. He kind of communicates by drawing words with his fingers. But in a couple of episodes, he actually does open up and does start talking to Eli, though he doesn't really talk to anyone else apart from his brother, which I thought was kind of cute. Anyway, their stepfather Lyle is kidnapped by a bunch of druggo thugs, and it's kind of like this drama mystery of figuring out what happened to him. There's this crime drug underworld that they uncover, and there is this new father called Robert that they start to bond with. Their mother gets put in jail for 4 years, so it's up to Rob to look after the kids until she gets out. And overall, it was just a very emotional and very dramatic and very believable Australian story that was done around Darra, around Brisbane, which was great. I thought the acting in this show was heads and shoulders above so many other Australian shows. It was actually very well done. Sophie Wilde is also in this movie as well, which was a big surprise since I really liked her in Talk to Me. So it was nice to see her presence in the show again. And overall, I just had a lot of fun with it. I'm not trying to go into major spoilers beyond what I said, because there are definitely a lot of others, and there's a lot of twists and turns that the show takes. Some really good themes in the show about, like, apparently Gus is able to like have visions of the future, which is very interesting to me. But overall, I had a lot of fun with the show. I did relate to it in certain aspects, which was really good for me. It's been getting rave reviews from Netflix, from Australian critics. It's definitely another very successful Australian story. And I'm not entirely sure about this, but I do think there is a sequel book to this, a second book that follows Boy Swallows Universe. So if maybe we could, there's a possibility of another season, though I'm not entirely sure. I'm still kind of confused why the show's called Boy Swallows Universe, because it's not really about the universe or like the cosmos at all. It's more just about Australian life in the 80s and the criminal underworld of drugs and Eli wanting to become a journalist. But it is a catchy title, and I guess it does sort of make sense of how he has like drawings of like cars flying through the cosmos. But overall, it's just a very interesting Australian drama, and I am happy that I did see it, and I do think they did a really good job with this one. So definitely see it on Netflix before it disappears. So that's my recommendation. I highly recommend the show. I did really, really like it. Did really enjoy it. So anyway, that's my review of Boy Swallows Universe. Thank you so much for watching my videos and supporting the channel. You are the best, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.